UND students say campus restructuring isn't serving women, and especially vulnerable women, like it once was. Valley News Team's Ryan Laughlin tells us why some students say administration doesn't understand the impact the Women's Center once had.
In the heart of UND's campus,
here was the ramp, so I'd be in the living room. In the living room!
Morgan Devine used to work here.
It used to be a 3-story house with like a beautiful attic.
This house used to serve as the Women's Center. To even have this place was a feat, considering where the Women's Center began.
In the late 60s, early 70s, the Women's Center actually started in a broom closet in the Union by a few women.
Then the administration decided to level it.
We were packed up out of here and moved into a pretty tight location with 2 cubicles and 1 office.
Now the Women's Center is back where it began, buried in the student union. But Morgan says the problem is much deeper than the facility itself.
They've essentially taken all of the social problems and social inequalities that women face today and said the only thing we need the Women's Center for is sexual violence prevention.
The current Women's Center has 1 full-time employee and 1 part-time employee. Their focus has narrowed to tackling issues surrounding sexual violence, something Morgan says was better accomplished before.
And when there's zero markage and no one's here when you first enter, it can be very difficult to feel comfortable enough to share the experiences.
She thinks the main issue is a disconnect from UND leaders.
How they're making an impact, administration doesn't quite understand what centers are supposed to be doing.
Morgan hoping that women still get the services she used to help provide here. From Grand Forks, Ryan Laughlin, Valley News Live.
The restructuring wasn't necessarily a cost-cutting measure. The Women's Center used to have 2 full-time employees. Now they have 1.5 working out of the union. All the grad students who worked there were paid out of student fees built into tuition. UND officials say a lot of the programs offered out of the previous women's centers will still be offered through other channels. There are no plans yet for the empty lot where the building was leveled, and sexual violence is still an issue on campus. And Valley News Live took a look at the number of reported sexual offenses at colleges in our area. UND investigated 33 sexual offenses from 2014 to 2016. Here in Fargo, NDSU, there were 20 sexual offenses involving students, both on and off campus from 2013 to 2015. And over at MSUM, 15 or around campus over a 5-year span from 2012 to 2016. We're back to the clouds and cooler weather. We've seen a few sprinkles today, but it looks like the sun is out and about. Justin, any more on the way?
Oh, we've got more rain on the way. You'll have to wait until the end of the weekend if you want some rain. We've actually got some nice weather between now and then. Let's take a look at what we're seeing outside. 68 right now in Fargo, 66 Devils Lake, 67 at Jamestown. The really warm air into South Dakota with some readings into the upper 70s. The cool air coming from a brisk northerly wind. Most places seeing wind speeds between 20 and 25 miles per hour. Now, here's what we saw on the radar. We are still seeing some clouds out there, especially from I-94 points off to the south into Lakes Country. You're seeing mainly cloudy skies, clear skies into northwestern Minnesota. A few more passing clouds into the Devil's Lake Basin. We're all staying dry as we go through this evening. Temperatures will be falling pretty rapidly as we see the sunset and we keep that northerly wind. 50s turn to upper 40s by the time the late news comes around. Now, Friday looks really nice, and we're looking for a good chance of some rain as we go through the weekend. We'll have the details coming up later in the newscast.
All right, thank you, Justin. A former assistant middle school principal from Bemidji is pleading guilty to federal child sex charges. Brendan Bjerknes appeared in federal court in St. Paul today. He was arrested in March for soliciting a child to engage in sexual contact. The Beltrami County Sheriff says their investigation determined that Bjerknes, who worked at Bemidji Middle School, was contacting kids through Facebook, Snapchat, and email accounts he had set up with a false identity. A sentencing date has not been set yet. He does remain in federal custody. The courtroom was packed today with people very much interested in what would happen with one of the 2 people charged in the Savannah Graywin murder. Brooke Cruz was expected to enter a plea today, but instead decided not to, taking advice from her attorney. For now, her plea is entered as not guilty. New documents were also released today, detailing more of what happened. We will have more on that coming up on Valley News Live at 6. Opening arguments began today for a man facing murder and drug-related charges. Earlier this week, Modesto Torres told Valley News Live he's innocent of murder that happened in 2016 at the Flying J truck stop in Grand Forks. A grand jury will decide if he played a role in that shooting and also if he's guilty of being a part of a drug ring conspiring to move 500 grams of meth across North Dakota and Minnesota. The trial is expected to last about a week. We're also getting new information about an early morning crash in North Fargo. Police have now released the name of the motorcyclist arrested, for suspicion of DUI. 40-year-old Christopher Bone of Moorhead was arrested, but is still dealing with injuries from the crash. You're taking a look at video from the scene this morning. Police tell Valley News Live that Bone rear-ended a car in front of him at 4th Street and 6th Avenue North around 2 a.m. He had to be taken to the hospital to be checked out and then was arrested. The people inside the car were not hurt. The leader who spearheaded opposition in the Dakota Access Pipeline has been ousted as Standing Rock Sioux chairman. The unofficial vote count in yesterday's tribal election shows that Dage Archambault received 37% of the vote and Mike Faith got 63%. The tribe opposed the pipeline over fears it would harm cultural sites in the tribe's Missouri River water supply. Protests failed to stop it, though the tribe is still fighting it in court. Earlier this year, Archambault's call for large-scale protest camps to disband upset some tribal members. Opponent Mike Faith says he's not sure how big of an issue that was in the campaign, but he says the reservation has a number of other problems. The North Dakota legislature will challenge Governor Doug Burgum over his veto powers. The Bipartisan Legislative Management Committee voted this morning to pursue the litigation in the state Supreme Court. Legislators contend the governor violated his veto powers by changing parts of several spending bills. Burgum says in a statement that the intent of the vetoes was to protect executive branch authority and that the lawsuit isn't a, quote, prudent use of taxpayer dollars. And also remember to like Valley News Live on Facebook. You can follow the latest news, weather, and breaking news updates anytime on your feed. Just search Valley News Live, like our page, and you'll stay informed throughout the entire day. Big social media companies are headed to Congress. Still ahead tonight, why they say Russia is using them to divide the United States. Welcome back. Twitter executives went to Capitol Hill today to meet with members of Congress looking into how Russian internet trolls used social media during the 2016 presidential election. A number of tech companies are expected to testify in public next month. Weijia Jiang reports from the White House.
Executives from Twitter met behind closed doors Thursday with members of the House and Senate Intelligence Committees looking into Russian meddling on social media.
It'd be useful to understand what these social media outlets are doing to protect the public.
Congressional investigators say Russian internet trolls were able to purchase Facebook ads with the goal of dividing Americans using pictures and incendiary language. CBS News confirmed at least one of the 3,000 ads specifically targeted Baltimore Ferguson in the Black Lives Matter movement.
We hope to learn facts of what has been done, what has been published, who is doing what in this.
Lawmakers say the trolls are still at it. Oklahoma Senator James Lankford said while NFL players protested during the national anthem this weekend before the games, Russians were flooding social media with hashtag boycott the NFL and hashtag take a knee.
They were taking both sides of the argument this past weekend and pushing them out from their troll farms as much as they could to try to just raise the noise level in America.
Facebook, Twitter, and Google have all been invited to testify about Russian influence on social media at a Senate Intelligence Committee hearing on November 1st. In a Facebook post Wednesday, Mark Zuckerberg wrote the company will do its part to defend against nation-states attempting to spread misinformation and subvert elections. Weijia Jiang, CBS News, the White House.
And in the same post, Zuckerberg also pushed back against a tweet by the president saying Facebook was always anti-Trump. Zuckerberg said both sides of the political divide were upset about ideas and content that they didn't like.
You have no idea how great this feels to be back here at work in the People's House.
As you just heard, a warm welcome back for Congressman Steve Scalise today in the House chamber after he was almost killed by a sniper in June during a congressional baseball practice. The House Majority Whip offered thanks to the Capitol police officers who, though wounded themselves, returned fire on the attacker and saved the lives of those on the ball field. One of those officers, David Bailey, was sitting next to Scalise's wife in the gallery. A wreath of white flowers was placed on Hugh Hefner's star today on Hollywood's Walk of Fame. A note on the flowers reads, "Rest in peace." Hefner passed away peacefully at his iconic Playboy mansion on Wednesday. He was 91 years old. Hefner is credited with ushering in the sexual revolution in the 1960s with his men's magazine, Playboy. He was also known for the lavish parties thrown at his Playboy mansion, often filled with celebrity friends and scantily clad models. Hefner is survived by his wife, Crystal, and 4 grown children. Halloween isn't too far away, so we'll be giving you a look inside a haunted cemetery in Fergus Falls. That's just minutes away.